All right, if you're looking for someone to cheer you up, I'm here for you. I just saw this tweet, one of the worst I've ever seen in Trailblazer Twitter. Quote, we were down by 19 and we came back within 1 point of winning. Also, Damian Lillard had a mind-blowing dunk that will probably go down on his career highlight reel. And Gary Payton II is back on the court. Also, Brooke won an award. Feel free to add your own happy Blazer thoughts. There you go. I am here to cheer you up. It's the fifth quarter Chad doing along with my partner, Chris Burkhardt. Telephone number 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. Also live on the YouTube stream right now. Just go to youtube.com and pull up our homepage, Rip City Radio. You'll see the live link right there. It'll allow you to participate and see what's cracking behind the studio and take a look at my ugly mug. And we got our YouTube chat, and we can talk about what happened tonight. Just a brutal loss for the Portland Trailblazers. The Orlando Magic come to town and record a wire-to-wire 109-106 victory over the Portland Trailblazers. And I think it's important to understand this because it will give you a better idea of what this team really is right now. Portland has dropped 4 straight games, 8 of their last 10, and now are just 9-17 since their 10-4 start to the year. So they started the year 10-4. Since that time, they're 9-17. One sample is a 14-game size. The other one, a 26-game size. You tell me what they are. Portland now 19-21 on the year. We are 1 game away from the midway point of the season. They have played 40 games, and here's what's coming up. Cleveland will be in town on Thursday, and then Dallas, back-to-back games against Luka and the Mavs on Saturday and Sunday. And the biggest problem tonight, the defense, not sharp. The three-point shooting was horrific, just 6 of 35. Turnovers, once again, a problem with 17. And the other issue was the start of the game, not coming out with that focus and that mindset that Chauncey talked about a couple of games ago. And just look at what happened. Orlando came out on fire, executing, and running into the second quarter, they built a 19-point lead at 39-20, their largest lead. And after the Blazers went on a furious 16-1 run, they evened up the game going into halftime. They come out in the third quarter asleep, and the Magic promptly go on a 15-0 run to regain the advantage in the game. And Portland, you know, they made a few runs. They challenged at the end, but when it mattered most, Portland couldn't get a stop. And when this team is missing their three-point shots, when Dame is struggling to connect, you know, this team struggles to win because they really don't have that multi-dimension type club that can lean on their defense or other elements of their game. So when they're not making shots, they can, you know, really grind out victories. So that was a brutal loss tonight. The Orlando Magic, it's like, yay. And going into the game, you know what the majority of people in Rip City were saying? Dude, it's okay. It's all right. Rough start with the schedule, but now things are going to open up. 10 of their next 11 games are at Moda Center. That's what people were saying and thinking going into the game tonight, and then they dropped this game to the Magic. And now Cleveland's coming in on Thursday. They're pretty good. And back-to-back games against Luka. We've seen what Dallas has done to Portland so far this year. So frustrating. The Blazers have got issues. And I would say, you know, I'm most curious what's rolling around in the mind of Burt Cold, you know, the man who is really calling the shots for the Trailblazers. I had someone reach out to me tonight during the game and said this loss, if they don't come back and win this game, it could force Burt Cold to do something crazy at the deadline, which is coming up on February 9th. So, brutal. Just brutal. You know, the bench remains an issue. The defense continues to be an issue. The turnovers are a problem. And of late, they haven't been able to make shots. So, take your pick. They've got a lot of issues right now. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Chris Burkhardt, Chad Doing. 503-248-0620. Let's go out to the phones. Mike in Lake Oswego is here and wants to jump on board. Mike, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the fifth quarter. What's up?
Well, Chad, this is the first time I've called this season, and I'm extremely frustrated. Game was playing hero ball in that fourth quarter and missing shot after shot after shot. And at some point, he was hitting the 2-point shot, but he simply is not hitting the three. And then when you take a look at the entire game, Anthony, he's not scoring. Jeremy's struggling. If you don't have your main guys scoring, this team's dead on arrival. I think we need to balance out the roster better. We're too small. I mean, you look at they had some big dudes against the Blazers tonight, and the only guy with length is Nurk. So I think it's time to just admit it's time to make a trade, and we've got to get a wing. Don't you think?
Oh, there's no question. And I think Joe Cronin understands that this roster is not balanced yet. I would say if I had to rank the needs in order of importance, I would say a starting wing, because Josh Hart is not the ideal individual to roll out at the three, especially with an undersized backcourt. So start with a starting forward to put next to Grant. After that, bench scoring is critical because they have no one that can bring the instant offense off the bench right now. And if you could upgrade at center, that wouldn't be such a bad thing either.
Totally agreed, Chad. Have a good evening.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the phone call. Good to hear your voice. And Happy New Year to you, my friend, 503-248-0620. Well, we might as well take a phone call from Crazy Tom. Crazy Tom, welcome to the fifth quarter. What's on your mind?
Hey, Chad. I'll try and have a better take. I actually am honored that you took my call after you just pounded me into the ground, the last time I talked. Yeah, it was, it was an exciting game, but am I the only one? I hope you see it a tiny bit, that the Blazers are back in their same mode, even under Stotts, where like half of their games, they're always down 10, 12, 18, 19. And then they come back and tie it. Why? Dude, we outplayed them on the rebounds, everything. We had 70 points in the paint, and we lost. Dude, they're doing the same things they were doing when they first started under Chauncey, and now they're just falling back into the same thing where they're always down, and then they come back, and what? Dude, it was a really exciting game, but it's just they're doing the same habits they were under Stotts, and now when they are under Chauncey, they're doing the same things again. Just the same old habits. 17 turnovers isn't all that bad, but it's just, gosh, dude. And the only reason I called is because, thank the dear Lord, they didn't lose 109 to 107, because I wouldn't have called. But, so, dude.
You're the best, man. Hey, Tom, congratulations, man. You recovered from that awful call earlier, and now you're back on board, man. You got it going on. Nice work. Nice rebound.
I appreciate it. Hey, I got a joke real quick.
All right, give it to me.
What happened to the frog that parked in the wrong space?
What?
He was towed.
All right, Tom. You fully redeemed yourself. Nice work.
You got to give him credit because his jokes are safer than Daniel's.
Yeah, a lot safer. All right, let's go back out to the phones, 503-248-0620. I would say 17 turnovers is too many. It's better than 24 that they had against Toronto, but it's still too many. And I respect Nurk. He came out after the game and took accountability and said, hey, I've got to be better with the basketball. He had 5 turnovers tonight. He said, I'm killing my team. I respect it, man. You got to recognize and say, you know what, I got to be better, and he did. But the Blazers, their defense, they're not defending well enough for long enough spurts right now. And then on top of that, you go through that stretch to start the third quarter where you can't buy a bucket, and Orlando goes on a 15-0 run. And your mindset and approach to start games, you can't let Orlando. They're Orlando. They're not a good basketball team. They've got some young talent, but they've only got 16 wins on the year. You can't let them come out and just bull rush you from the start and jump out on top by 19 points. Burkhart mentioned it to me in the first half. He's like, dude, they're making this comeback, but how much energy are they expending right now? Because it's going to cost you down the stretch, and look what happened. Guys are coming up short. They couldn't make the three. They finished 6 of 35 from downtown. Orlando shot 51% from the floor, and they were plus 9 at the three-point line. Those are not good numbers for Portland. Let's go out to Charlie, who is with us once again. Charlie, what's up? Welcome to the fifth quarter.
Thank you, sir. First of all, Crazy Tom, awesome, man. Love the joke at the end. That was great. And there's a little bit of wisdom in what he's saying. It's sneaking in there once in a while, a little bit of wisdom. Basketball IQ. Any coach that was watching that game was just dying. I mean, how about one timeout where we say, all right, gents, there's nights when we hit the threes and there's nights when it just ain't falling. Let's see. They just have that imposing front line against us to where we can't get anything at the basket. What are we going to do? Oh, no. Wait a minute. They have nothing inside defensively. We can get anything we want at the basket. We can shoot 90% at the basket in the key. But, hey, let's not get more shots there. Let's make sure we get up 36. Is that right? Or 39? Either one. Way more than 25, which is what you should be at if you're shooting 20%, 17% from three. Come on, man. It's a long game. Do you know how hard it is to not lead in an NBA game? Do you know how hard it is to not lead once in an NBA game against one of the worst teams in the NBA? Do you know how hard it is to do all that at home? We can do it. The trifecta, man. We are something else to watch, and it's not something good.
Yeah, that's a good phone call. I appreciate it, Charlie. Frustrating to watch. Let's go to Troy and Tiger. Troy, welcome to the fifth quarter. Fire away.
Hey, yeah, so I completely agree with you. I think we need a starting 3 or 4 to play with Jeremy Grant, and I think we need bench production. Now, getting a starting 3 or 4 obviously moves Josh Hart to the bench. That'll help a little. But do you, with what assets we have, do you think there's anything we could even do at the trade deadline to make this roster any better this year?
Well, I agree with your take. They need a starting forward next to Grant, and they need bench scoring desperately. Those are my top 2 needs for this team as well. What they're going to have to be faced with, Troy, is the fact that they've got to take a long look at themselves when they get to the deadline, see where they're at in the Western standings. Because if they're going to make a big move to get the player they really need, it means you're probably going to have to part with someone like Anthony Simons or Yusuf Nurkic. And they've got to ask themselves, if they're going to part with a valuable piece, is what they're getting in return going to help them get over the top? And that's the question you're going to have to ask. Also, if they continue this type of slide, keep in mind they're only 9-17 in their last 26. Maybe they don't want to make any type of a move, and maybe they'll have their eyes set on kind of staying pat so they don't miss out on their draft pick. So it's going to be very difficult, the decisions they have to make based on where they're at in the standings and how they're playing basketball. Right now, they are trending in the wrong direction, obviously.
Couldn't agree more. All right, thank you, man.
You got it. Appreciate it. All right, let's go out to Victor in Turkey. Victor, my man, you're up on the fifth quarter.
Hi, Shad. Let me tell you first, I really appreciate your time and Chris that let me get into the show, because in a lot of countries I've been to, sometimes they shut you up when you talk too much to the radio or television. They shut you up. Like we have it in Turkey. If you talk criticism in Turkey, they shut you down. But look like in America we have freedom, and also your show is unbelievable. But I appreciate that.
Well,
but
you're welcome. You know why? You know why, Victor? It's important to me is because I want conversation. I don't want it to be a one-way street, right? I like it when people call in and we have a conversation, so I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, I mean, you're a free man anyway. But I have to say my frustration. What I'm saying, some of the things I say is not really positive or against some views about this game. I think the best player was, Anthony Simon. And the reason was, we were 15, 18 downs, and Anthony come in and put 2 threes, in a row, and brought us back to the game. Well, I know the Damian is, of course, is a better player. I have no doubt. But the thing, like Travis Immerse, your friend, said that at the end, he said that Jeremy Grant, he had 16 points. He wasn't a good shooter. And also in the last game, he only scored 14 points. Now, Grant, of course, you might say, well, he do a lot of other things. I believe that, but, we expect he scored more than 20 points. That's one of the problems that I want to say. But I'm sure that they're not going to trade him. But what I'm saying is, when you said that they're going to trade Anthony Simon or Yusuf, I don't know about Yusuf too much. I can't say too much. But because the reason that you choose Anthony Simon for trade, because he's the most valuable, one of the most valuable player, and they can get a good deal from him. That's the reason. But the thing is, I don't agree with that. And the reason is, as you said, our problem is a backcourt. I mean, the reserve. The last couple of games, they only scored 3 points against 40 points the other team. So what I'm saying, if suppose they trade Anthony Simon and they get a very, like a superstar, that I don't believe they can do. But what happened to the reserve on the bench? I mean, if they trade Anthony Simon, they should get 2 or 3 players. I mean, that's a really big decision, because we are get rid of the best shooters in the league, and we're going to get one power forward probably. And another question I have, Chad, is if they trade Anthony Simon, what is the backup pointer guard? The Porter 3 or what was that? That guy, Terry Porter 2? No, I forgot his name. That he was playing tonight. He's not the same guy as Anthony. He cannot be back up to the Damian. And I appreciate your answer.
All right, I appreciate that. Thanks for the phone call, Victor. I think the most likely guy to get moved before the deadline would be Josh Hart. And Burkhardt, if you disagree, you can let me know. But I think Hart's probably the most likely, only because of finances. So if they're going to make a move, let's say they just want to make a move to get under the tax line. I think at last check, when I looked it up a few days ago, they're $500,000 over the tax line. So they need to get under that so they don't become a repeater tax team. So Josh Hart would be the most likely guy to get moved, because he's got a player option at the end of the season. He's going to want more than the nearly $13 million that is on that contract year that he would opt out of. He's probably going to look for somewhere, around 18 to 20 mil. He's in his prime. He's going to have a chance to get a big deal. So it's unlikely, not impossible, but unlikely the Trailblazers would pay Hart the type of money he is looking for, while simultaneously re-signing Jeremy Grant, which is priority number one. And he's going to make upwards of $30 or more million per season. So you're going to re-sign Grant for sure. They're probably not going to be willing to spend and go, well over the tax line, the type of money that Josh Hart is looking to make. So he would be a likely guy to get moved. Now, if you want to do something big to really reshape the team and bring in that starting wing that we're all looking for, then you'd probably look to move Hart and Simons. And the reason I say Simons is that you've got the eventual replacement behind him in Shaedon Sharpe. He's young. He's on an upward trajectory. There are teams that would want him. Nurkic would be another guy potentially, but I just don't know how many teams need a player like Nurk. The reason why Ant is someone you would look to move to is because he's on that new deal. So he's making, $25 million a year? The salary would be such that you could get, a high-level player in return. And if you moved both, Hart and Simons that would put you in a position to do something like that. And then I would assume at that point you move Shaden Sharp into the starting lineup, depending on what you get in return. We'll have to wait and see. Again, if they continue to struggle and they're sitting there 2 or 3 games under 500 at the trade deadline, they probably won't look to do anything major. And the other issue, too, is that most owners don't want to have one of the highest payrolls in the NBA for a team that's not a contender. So we'll see what happens. That's why every game between now and that period right before the deadline, right around February 8th, is going to be critical. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on fifth quarter. We're going to hear from Chauncey. We'll hear from Dame. We're going to come back and take more of your phone calls. Good luck to Chris Burkhardt trying to find the shot of the night tonight. Could be tough when you're only 6 of 35 from 3.
Godspeed, Burkhart.
But keep the phone calls coming. I want to hear your voice. 503-248-0620. Magic over the Trailblazers tonight. 109-106. 4 straight losses for Portland. They've also dropped 8 of their last 10, with the Cleveland Cavaliers coming to town on Thursday. All right, fifth quarter. Your telephone number 503-248-0620. Depending on which site you look at, if you look at Hoops Hype, they have the Trailblazers right now over the tax line by about $500,000. If you look at Spotrac, they have them under just barely. So depending on which site you look at, the whole point is this, is that you need to be under the luxury tax line at the end of the year. It's where you're at the end of the season that counts. The reason why the Trailblazers do not want to be over the tax line at the end of the year is because if they decide to spend and do something big for next season that will kick them over that tax line, you don't want to become a repeater tax team, because then for every dollar you're over the tax line, you end up paying big money. The first year, it's like, what, $2 for every one? And then after that, it continues to climb.
Yeah, I think it's like a 3 or something, which only sounds small, like, oh, $1, but that's a lot of money in the long run. And the difference here, too, I mean, if you get under that tax line, then you have your advantages when it comes to your mid-level exceptions and your monies versus the taxpayer mid-level exception. And like you said, repeater tax changes everything. Yeah. So if they get into the tax this year, Chad, it kind of moves that timeline a whole year earlier, because now they'd have to either get under the tax next year or risk being a repeater earlier than they wanted to be. So, yeah, they want to stay under that line or get under the line, depending on which site you're looking at, before the year's done.
And that's why Josh Hart is a prime player to be moved before the deadline, because it's unlikely he's going to be re-signed, and you don't want to lose him for nothing, so you would look to move him prior to the deadline, which is coming up on February 9th. Write that date down, because that's going to be a critical day around the NBA. Your telephone number, 503-248-0620. Frustrating loss tonight. The Blazers now have dropped 4 straight, 8 of their last 10. They're 9-17 in their last 26. They're 19-21 in the year. Thursday night will mark the midway point of the season with their 41st game. And tonight, they got off to a slow start. The Magic rushed to a 39-20 lead. Portland went on a 16-1 run. They tied it up going into halftime. And then Orlando came out, 15-0 run to start the third. And you just can't allow teams to go on those type of runs, especially on your own floor, and expect to get back in the game. And at the end, they had a chance to tie it. They had a chance. And 3 guys, Nurk, Ant, and Grant, all missed threes that would have tied the game before the final buzzer. The defense couldn't get enough stops when they had to. 17 turnovers tonight. And just that whole approach to how they start the game, how they start halves, not what Chauncey Billups was looking for. Let's go out to Coach B. Coach B, welcome to the fifth quarter. You're up. Fire away.
Chad, hey, it's Brad Barbarick. How are you, bud?
Oh, what's up, Brad? Dude, it's so good to hear your voice.
Hey, good to hear you. Hey, listen, you're on fire tonight with your takes. The Blazers could have used a little bit of, your hot heat tonight, because when you start the game as poorly as they did and you start the third quarter as poorly as they did, pretty tough to win in the NBA.
Well, Coach, I want to ask you about that. It's got to be hard, and you probably don't know until the game starts, but what is it about the start of games, like that mindset, the approach that Coach Billups has talked about? Like, as a coach, what is the key to getting your guys engaged and ready to roll from the start so you don't get off to a rough start like we saw tonight at the beginning of the game and that third quarter? How do you do that?
Yeah, you know what I thought in watching it? I just thought that they looked like they were a little bit tired from the road trip. Didn't have good legs. Energy wasn't there. And you're settling for shots. You had an earlier caller that, talked about, the number of threes and attacking the basket. I thought we settled for a bunch of threes tonight. Orlando is a young team, but they have length. They have some very good young players. I was very, very interested to see Paulo Banchero tonight. He's having a great year as a rookie. I think he's very much justified his number one pick, status. He's 6'10". He's got perimeter skills. He can play in the post. He plays with great pace, changes speeds really well. You know who I really wanted to see tonight, and I think a lot of fans, obviously in the state of Oregon, wanted to see Bol play tonight. So that was disappointing that he didn't get in because he's become, a very, very good player. But I think you have to give a lot of credit to Orlando. I think, some of the callers have, we're dissing on the home team here, but Orlando played well tonight. They made big plays. They made timely shots. Every time the Blazers made a run, Orlando had an answer.
Well,
and
you're right about that. And you mentioned their length, and the Blazers have been looking for, those type of wings, and Orlando's got a whole gaggle of them. But I thought Wagner tonight blew me away with his play, just his touch and feel for the game. Ben Carroll is just awesome, and the rest of their crew. I mean, they had so many different guys who stepped up. I enjoyed watching them play, man. They got some good young talent. That's fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I obviously it's not panic time for the Blazers, but it is a bad loss because Orlando's coming off just a beat down against the Kings the other night, and I think as fans, we expected more from the Blazers. They're starting a long homestand. Certainly not going to get any easier with Cleveland coming in. So you lose to an Orlando team that's not, on the lower half of the elite teams in the league. And you've got Cleveland, who's on the upper half of the elite teams. And you're going to really have to step it up. So it'll be interesting. I think, as a coach and as a fan, I'm looking at it, and it'll be a big test to see how the Blazers respond, in that next game against the Cavs.
I got a basketball question for you, Coach. The Blazers under Billups, they're trying to play, a different brand of basketball with more movement and getting more guys involved with player movement and ball movement, which I'm fine with. But with their personnel and knowing how effective Dame is in it, do you think they might be better off, going back to that spread pick and roll and having the ball in Dame's hands because he's so hard to stop in those situations because you got to use a hard double on him? What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm going to say, Chad. I think people forget how great of an offensive coach Terry Stotts was. The sets that Terry Stotts ran for the Blazers, I thought were always really good. I thought they were always well prepared. Obviously, there was, some of the defensive issues. Part of the reason that that Chauncey Billups was brought in. They bring in Gary Payton, Jr. as a defensive specialist this year. I'm surprised, coming out of timeouts, that some of the lack of execution. I think they need to get better there. And I think, Damian is still, a very elite guard in the league. I love that you said his dunk was going to make his career highlight reel. I thought the same thing. It surprised me. I kind of jumped out of my seat on that one tonight. But, he's still, one of the league's best. And so you build stuff around him. And he obviously was not good tonight. He was inconsistent. And with all that said, the Blazers had 3 chances at the end, to tie the game.
Yeah.
They got 3 good looks. And so that's exciting for the fans. But at the end of the day, a loss is a loss. And let's hope that, they respond, coming up in this next one against the Cavs.
Hey, I'm curious, how are things going at Shoot 360?
Thanks for asking. Yeah, Shoot 360, we have 29 locations now across the country, and
That's
we have
awesome.
one international location. And I'm super excited to work, with a basketball training facility that, in fact, I said to my good friend Dan Anderson tonight, who was a college teammate of mine who I went to the game with, I said, we need to get some of the Blazers into Shoot 360 and get those threes working for them. Hey, we got a location in Beaverton. Damian comes into our facility in Vancouver, and in fact, he used to quite a bit. But we get a lot of shot reps up in a short amount of time, and can really help players of all ages and all skill levels, from 10-year-olds to NBA veterans. Get better in shooting the basketball, and better at passing the basketball and dribbling the basketball.
Dude, that's so cool. Oh, by the way, what do your eyes tell you about Victor Wembanyama?
Oh my gosh, he is the real deal. 7'4", and his skills are off the chart for as young as he is. Everybody, obviously we haven't had a chance to see Chet Holmgren yet in the NBA due to his injury. But Victor Wembanyama, it just brings a whole nother level of perimeter skills, with ridiculous length. He reminds me of Ralph Sampson, going back a few decades.
Yeah, Twin Towers.
But obviously with guard skills. I think, if he can stay healthy, and, obviously the issue for guys like that sometimes is durability and strength and being a little bit fragile. But, boy, if he can stay healthy, I think his potential is the highest I think the NBA has ever seen. That's what I think.
That's awesome. Well, I tell you what, Coach. You know what, man? Thank you. You made my night by calling in, dude. I love you. I love you.
Hey, love you, Chad. Thanks for taking my call. Always, I love listening to you. Appreciate the good work. Keep it up.
You got it, man. There he is, Coach Barbrick. Great guy, great friend, and someone that's always been good to me. And you can check out Shoot 360. Go to the website, shoot360.com. Shoot360.com. Brad Barbrick. He's always been such a good dude. Like when I got into radio way back in the day in K-Van over in Vancouver, K-Van 1550, like I was going in and just hanging out trying to learn, and I was willing to do anything. And he was doing a coach's show there during the week, and from the moment I met him, he was super cool, and we became friends, and we've been in contact and stayed connected ever since then. So I appreciate that. Good phone call. Always nice to talk to a coach. Let's go out to Brian in Southwest Portland real quick. Oh, by the way, hey, Burkhart, how nice is Paolo Banchero?
Boy, howdy. I thought it was real nice to get a chance to actually watch a full game of his, not just highlights.
Dude.
He's great. He plays like a point guard, but he's built like a power forward. Like how many times I look at you, I go, dude, that's their 4. And he's running the point, and he is so comfortable. Gosh, he's good. Good.
Oh, so good. That's the guy. I want him on the Trailblazers. That guy. He's awesome.
Yeah, that guy would be perfect.
Oh, I love Banchero. And, dude, Wagner out there balling his ass off tonight.
Yeah, Franz was great, and he's had a very good year. And as Coach said, they didn't know Bol, who's been playing well.
Yeah.
No Mo Bamba, who's been playing well in some limited minutes here and there. That team's got some nice young pieces, man.
Oh, by the way, when I decided during the game tonight, when I have to start wearing glasses, I'm going to wear the specs that Wendell Carter Jr. had on. Those are sweet.
Made you think of old Horace Grant.
Yeah.
And,
Horace Grant
uncle of Jeremy.
On-the-court glasses look cool,
I used to think Horace Grant was, the best power forward in the NBA because the glasses just made him look awesome as a kid.
Dude, Larry Bird, once he got cracked in the eye once and he had to wear these goggles. He went out with the goggles on, hit 7 threes against Dallas. I'm like, I need some of them. It's the goggles, man.
Yeah?
Oh, let's go back out to the phones. Brian, Southwest Portland is out there. Brian, what's up? Welcome to the 5th quarter.
Hey, Chad Ewing.
What's
I'm
up?
a little under the weather, but, I wanted to call you because it was like the Lord provided, because Clyde Drexler, earlier while I was at home, I heard about him.
Yeah?
And he gave a few suggestions, and it's like going right through time itself. With Dwight Jones, Dwight was
James.
interviewing him,
Yeah.
and Dwight James. And what he did was he misses Portland in his own way.
Yeah.
He had a nice perspective on what was going on. I've been around a while myself, and I was thinking about, he even liked Paul Allen, but he thought that maybe he could have worked a little harder on certain changes at critical times. Chemistry has a lot to do with how well teams do in critical points. When I think of Damon Lillard, I can't watch a lot of the TV. With the years that have changed, it was a whole different age when I was younger. But I will tell you, he's a great little player.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think he forces some of his three-point shots. But when he's in that groove to where he can hit critical shots, he's amazing. But when you have that kind of percentage, 17%, it makes it real hard to win very critical games. And yet they were right there anyways. The referees probably didn't help. We've had that even back during Clyde's era. I mean, let's be honest about the whole thing. In reality, and Jay Allen, I miss your broadcasting buddy, Jay.
Yeah.
He's a good guy, too.
I miss
And
JJ.
Yes. And you have a very caring attitude about you. I know you really want to help boost the team. You're good at trying to find answers for analyzing the team. This is pretty different for me. Usually I followed it mainly in the playoff era as I get older and older. But I've seen some critical games over the years. I won't go in there. But I will tell you that Rick Adelman was the very first captain of the Portland Trailblazers. And he was a good player, not a great player. But he worked his way up. And he did a pretty dang good job. Just like Phil Jackson was not a great player. But he worked his way up to become a great coach. And when you think about all this, the Blazers have some good possible chances, even though, no matter whether you're poor or rich or whatever, money does have a factor in all this. And, when you think about the chemistry, that whole idea of them working harder down in the middle and getting all that going is so critical. And I've seen Damon. He is now the number one. Surprise you with this one. He's the number one foul shooter at home in the National Basketball Association, 95% going into the game. But he is a little suspect in his three-point shooting at times. And he's also has gotten better in his defense. And I think Nurskovic, he's been sick a lot of times, but when he's on that court, he can really help with that stability in there. I wish there was a way he could think about it when he gets into that fourth quarter so he doesn't get himself into trouble. Same with Banks and a few of the others. I'm impressed with that Hart guy, and I'm also impressed with Shannon Sharp. Never seen him. Interesting. Heard a few games, and he sounds like got potential. And I think about Simon, and I think of the days when we went to the Western Conference Finals, and then it was a young man that was getting schooled, and he watched Myers Leonard before he left the team. After 7 years, he put on a show that final game. And it's interesting because I bring that up because the Blazers do have potential. And I've had some wonderful memories of the Blazers over the years. Those early 90s teams were really amazing. They had chemistry. And I do go back to a few years ago when I talked to you, and those Christian Gladiators, Buck Williams. Terry Porter, I wish he could help out with Chauncey, because Chauncey's a defensive coach, but he's trying. And I tell you, no matter what happens, Terry was pretty good for years with you, University of Portland. Before that, there was Larry Steele. We had 5 guys in the old days. They were super achievers. One of the first was that Larry Steele. And you went with Jerome Kersey, who became a great ambassador. And you followed up with Duckworth. He left us early. Maurice Lucas who went over and shook the hands of his opponent before he started that raid, and the Blazers went all the way from being down 2-0 and ended up 4-2 and winning that championship. They were heading for that second one till that injury. Just giving you a few memories, but I'll tell you, I love you, Chad. And I tell you, the fans sometimes are so very special. We have a lot of problems in Portland, but we have a lot of wonderful people here still. You're a good man.
Well, Brian, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the phone call. I
You
appreciate
betcha,
it.
Chad.
You're welcome anytime. God bless you.
God bless you. Have a good one, and let's go Blazers.
Let's go Blazers. There's Brian in Southwest Portland. How's that for a history lesson, Burkhart?
It's a pretty good one. Learned a lot. I do think that Brian needs to read some books on tape, though. His tone,
perfect.
and the way, like, then there was Myers Leonard in that final game. He just went off, and then he trails off. And then he goes into his next sentence. Like, that was professional reading right there. I enjoyed that. That was fun.
All right, telephone number 503-248-0620. All right, let's get everyone up to date on what went down in the NBA tonight.
The fifth quarter on 620 Rip City Radio presents the Scoreboard Report, brought to you by the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill, A-Lene's ultimate venue for sports fans every Monday night, featuring beer and wing specials and more.
All right, take a look at the scoreboard tonight in the NBA. Starting in Philadelphia, the 76ers over the Pistons, 147-116. Embiid, 36 points and 11 rebounds. In Miami, the Heat over the Thunder, 112-111. Jimmy Butler, 35 points, 7 boards, and 4 steals. The Raptors topped the Hornets in Toronto, 132-120. Pascal Siakam with 28 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. The Jazz edged the Cavaliers, 116-114 in Utah. Jordan Clarkson, 32 points and 6 rebounds. Suns take out the Warriors in San Francisco, 125-113. Mikal Bridges, 26 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Jordan Poole with 27 in the loss. The Magic over the Trailblazers at Moda. Wagner with 29 points. Dame with 30 in the loss. And the Clippers over the Mavericks in L.A., 113-101. Kawhi Leonard had 33 points, 9 boards, and 4 steals. Dallas will be in town for a back-to-back situation on Saturday and Sunday. The Blazers' next game will come up Thursday in Cleveland. We'll come back on fifth quarter, and when we do, we're going to hear from Coach Billups, get his thoughts on what went down tonight. 4 straight losses for Portland. They've dropped 8 of 10, 109-106 the finals. The Magic get the victory. Telephone number 503-248-0620. Chad Doing and Chris Burkhart here in the fifth quarter. All right, Burkhart cracking me up right now with his music selection. Nice work, bro. I'm getting emails now. My man Neil Lefkowitz has chimed in from the Blazer Booster Club. And he said, Chad, the Blazers are a bit below the luxury tax threshold, i.e. not above. And he sent me a link from MSN. I know Neil, and if you go to Spotrac, they also have the Blazers just under, but if you go to Hoops Hype, they've got them over by about $500,000. All I'm trying to say is that I've been looking at Hoops Hype, which has them just over. There are a couple of sites that have them just under.
And regardless, whether you're going with Spotrac's numbers, which has them about 60,000 under, or Hoops Hype, which has them just a sliver over, the point is they want to end under that number, regardless of where they're at right now.
How do you pronounce it? Is it Spotrac or Spotrac?
I've heard so many, so I'm just calling it the spot.
There are certain things that I'm not really sure how to pronounce, so when I say it, I don't say it with confidence. Spotrac?
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you this much. I could say it with confidence. It's not Pablo Bancaro.
I love that. Pablo.
I hit Pablo in the face.
But, Neil, it's great to hear from you, buddy. I hope you're well, and I hope things are going well with the Booster Club. All right, we'll get to Chauncey in just a moment, but let's there's one thing that was awesome tonight, and that is your poster play of the night. Let's do it.
The fifth quarter poster play of the night is brought to you by Collection Connection, the leaders in framing sports memorabilia, team awards, and so much more. Collection Connection offers you a one-stop, full-service framing experience. Find them online at COLLCONN.com.
Dame across the logo, to the wing, crosses, drives, goes up, tries to peg it down, hammers it in the face of Cole Anthony. He puts Cole Anthony on a poster, 9-point game.
That dunk was epic, man. It was Dame in a bitter mode looking to get off, and he did. And I'll tell you what, Chris and I noticed this too. Did you notice the look on Dame's face when he was walking off the floor after the loss? I think the exact quote from Burkhart was, he looks like a man that's pissed off.
Yeah, he did not look happy. It was the what more do I have to do look. Like what the heck do we have to do to right this ship and figure it out? And he's had that look for a few games here, which I told Preston the other day, like, I'm waiting because it's going to happen. He's going to have one of those Dame goes nuclear games, right? Like, just goes off because it's boiling over and you can tell.
503-248-0620. All right, let's step into the Coach's Corner.
It's time for the Coach's Corner with Chauncey Billups on Blazers Game Day, presented by Henderson & Daughter. Henderson & Daughter has been supplying superior design service, quality windows, entry doors, patio doors, and window installation to the Portland and Southwest Washington area since 1977. Before you decide to just replace your current windows or exterior doors, have our designers present you with a free in-home design consultation and estimate to show you the different styles we carry that can give your home a fresh new look. Henderson & Daughter, your window and door experts.
All right, I'm predicting a Chauncey meltdown probably inside of 2 months. It's coming. Losses pile up. The frustration comes in, and coaches do what coaches do best, and that's get bitter. He's getting close. The dark side is tempting him right now. Let's take a listen to what Coach had to say after the Blazers' 3-point loss to Orlando.
You sum that one up. Obviously, go down twice, come back twice, and pull it out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, most people look at this game and say, damn, we had some good looks. 3 good-looking threes at the end. But we lost this game at the start of the game and started third quarter. This is where you kind of lost it. You go down a couple times, and again, I got to play these guys. And, the starters, we just didn't play well enough. And obviously, we shot it terribly. 6 for 35. You should never even be in a game when you shoot it that poorly, but we were. But we just couldn't get enough stops, when it mattered, to get on top of them.
This is 3 games in a row now that at least once you have an extended scoring drought, to start or in the Indy game to end a quarter. Like, is there anything that you have pinpointed at this point of, like, why this is happening and what there is to kind of address with that, or is it just?
It's just we're just in a little funk, man. I don't know what it is. I can't really pinpoint it. Obviously, I'm watching the hell out of it. And when you go on those type of droughts, because it was crazy, like in the fourth quarter, we're 1 for 10 from three, but we're like 11 for 11 at the rim. We're getting there, and we're getting out kickouts, and we just couldn't make. But again, this game, it had nothing to do with the fourth quarter. It was all the first and third. Our starters they just weren't good enough. They didn't come out with the right mindset. That team is big. They're young. They play hard as hell, and I just felt like we reacted as opposed to act, and most of the time you lose when you do that.
Were you thinking about, when you talk about the starters, not having it for these last couple of games, are you thinking about switching something up there? Is that something you've been thinking about, or
No, we gotta be better.
Johnson, you talk about being 11-11 at the rim, generating those looks. That first half, you guys appeared to go into more post-up actions than in any first half this season. Was that a concerted effort to try to get the ball to each side of the court and kind of get those actions more than usual, or is that just kind of how things worked out?
We ran a couple different things tonight that we usually haven't. We haven't run much of. I thought it was pretty good for us. Those all of those actions worked out. It worked out. I thought we didn't turn it over excessively tonight, even though we had some pretty loud ones. We didn't turn it over crazy, so I was okay with that. But I just, at the end of the day, again, man, you go 6 for 35. It's just you're supposed to get beat by 20-something.
there was a three that Ant hit that got called a foul on the floor? That is that one that you maybe thought about challenging at all? Because to me it looked like you probably had a better angle than I did, but to me it looked like he had maybe started the shooting motion, and that was
Yeah, I thought it was the right call. At the time, I wasn't. I thought it was, because I had a really good look at it, and then when I looked at my guys over there, I didn't think we could win that.
All right, there's Coach Billups after the Blazers' 3-point loss, 109-106 to Orlando. Ooh, yay. Are we ready for the brick of the night? Is that what we're going to do here? Is it shot of the night or brick of the night? What is it tonight?
I didn't have it in me to go brick of the night, so we do have a shot of the night.
All right, let's do the shot of the night.
It's time for the Nothing But Net Shot of the Night here on the fifth quarter, 620 Rip City Radio. The Nothing But Net Shot of the Night is brought to you by Oregon Dungeness Crab. Sustainably harvested, uniquely delicious, and always wild. Oregon Dungeness Crab always sounds good for dinner.
Simons gives it up to Lillard. 5 seconds to play. In the corner. Jab step down to 2. Dame's got to get the shot off. He does. Fades away at the buzzer and buries it. Damian Lillard's got 19. He's got 11 in the quarter. And the Blazers pulled to within 9 heading to the fourth.
And we joked about it. The Blazers just 6 of 35 from 3. And we're like, is there a shot of the night? How are you going to find that? So we toyed with the idea of just making it the brick of the night and having those 3 shots up at the end of the buzzer with Nurk, Simons, and Grant. And I think Dame was open, but Grant missed him. Oh, boy. What can you do? All right, we'll come back on fifth quarter, and when we do, we're going to hear from Dame and get his thoughts on where this team is at. 503-248-0620. Chris Burkhardt, Chad Doing with you here on the fifth quarter. Blazers' next game will come up on Thursday. Cleveland's in town. We'll have game day starting for you at 4:30. I just had one of my buddies point out a quote from Chauncey. Quote, "We're just in a little funk, man. I don't know what it is. I can't pinpoint it." Not exactly what you want to hear from your head coach. But I think that really explains the struggles that he's been going through for the last month. I don't think he knows. I think he's lost right now at trying to figure out what he can do to get this team going. And that's why you've got some people who are close to Dame's camp who are pushing for more of the high pick and roll to get Dame back in his comfort zone and get away from some of the movement. And that's what I was asking Dwight before the year. I'm like, how long will they stick with this new style of play before they junk it if it doesn't go in favor of Dame? 503-248-0620. All right, it's time to hear from Dame following the loss. Let's go inside the locker room.
It's time to go inside the locker room with Damian Lillard, presented by Oregon Dungeness Crab. Sustainably harvested, uniquely delicious, and always wild. Oregon Dungeness Crab always sounds good for dinner.
All right, let's take a listen to Dame. He had 30 points tonight. Didn't hit the three, but did a lot of other little things to really impact the game. I thought he was solid. Let's take a listen to Dame.
You know, you just can't expect to win games like that, you know, and that's it's unacceptable on our behalf. You know, we got to be better than that. You know, we start games for a reason. You know, we're the guys that should be performing the best. You know, we should be lifting the team up and not weighing the team down, which is what we did, you know, in the first and third quarter tonight. So we struggled. You know, we just didn't play well enough. You know, we let them be more physical than us. They played more aggressive than us, and you know, this was a result of that. So we just can't let that happen. You know.
Chauncey said that you guys have kind of been in a funk. I mean, have you felt like it's just hard to get a rhythm offensively last week?
We have been in a funk. You know, I think it's you know, when you're not making shots as a team, you know, it can be disruptive. You know what I mean? It's you making shots, it's like everything is flowing. You know, the ball is moving around, but when you start to miss as a team, you know, the ball might stick a little bit more. It just kind of takes away your rhythm, and I think that's where we've been. You know, we've defended pretty solid. Even tonight, it felt like, you know, man, we need to get a stop, and they only had 109. But our issue has been scoring the ball, and you know, we've definitely been in the funk. You know, our rhythm, the turnovers, just, you know, valuing possessions more, our execution, our pace. You know, is things that we could be doing better to create, you know, more rhythm for ourselves offensively that we just not doing consistent enough to have a consistent offense. And in this league, you know, it's hard to be good defensively, and it's also hard to be good offensively. And I think right now we just struggling being consistent. And you know, we in a ditch right now as far as that, and it's you know, it's where you got to be mentally tough. You know what I mean? You got to be able to not like these moments, but you got to be able to deal with them. You know what I'm saying? And just keep pushing forward. And you know, I think that's a big thing for our team right now is to not let it take us out. You know, we got to just keep fighting. You know, and understand there's a lot of teams that are in the same space right now. It's a lot of 20 and 21, 21 and 20. You know, we all kind of in a bunch, and we're not taking advantage of that opportunity that we have, but we also not, you know, we're not down and out like, you know, like it feels. So we just got to keep fighting.
How do you assess kind of your this group's ability to kind of, like you said, sort of stick out those, you know, these kind of rough patches like the one that you're in now? Like when you know, a team goes through like a little skid like this, they could either like, you know, stay together, or they could, you know,
it can make you or it can break you.
Yeah, so
that's the way it goes.
Where do you think you guys are at right now on that spectrum?
I mean, I think it's new for us as a group. You know, this is our first time going through this as the team that we are. So it's, you know, it's gonna be rough. You know what I mean? It's been rough. You know, you just kind of looking around like, what do we need to do? You know, everybody's frustrated, and when you don't have a lot of experience together in these moments, it's even more of a question. Like, you know, you looking around, but I'm on a team, so breaking or whatever going that way ain't gonna happen. You know, I can tell y'all that right now. So, you know, I think it's gonna make us better down the line. You know, just having this experience, and you know, for people that like fans, they want to see us win. What's going on? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? And, even for you guys, y'all looking at it, like if we play well, y'all going to give us credit and say, this guy did this guy did that. And when we don't play well, you guys are going to say, what's going on? This isn't working. They got to do this. They got to do that. And it's our job to just continue to push, and continue to believe. And that's how you get out of it. And then it's going to come a time where, we're going to look back on it and be like, we didn't fold, we didn't make excuses. And, it's going to be a brighter day. So that's the way this goes. The people that can handle it that way when it's happening, those are the ones that come out on the other side, But the people that go, up and down with however things are going, those are the ones that usually break, and that's not an option for us.
All right, there's Dame. Burkhardt, I just respect Dame. You saw the look in his eyes when he walked off the floor. The guy's obviously just fuming, bitter at a home loss to Orlando, but yet throughout the years, he has a unique way of being able to take whatever he's feeling on the inside and yet remain very even keel when he's addressing the media and consistent and will always talk. Like, he's a pro when it comes to that kind of stuff, man. I respect that big time.
I'll tell you, when my job at my old employer was to go in the locker room and get sound, especially on the road when I was traveling with them, I respected the heck out of it because no matter the game, no matter the situation, no matter how it went down, you would always guarantee that Dame would take the time to talk to you. Some players in that locker room would sneak out the back or just not want to talk. I've had players before like, yeah, man, I'm not talking tonight. And usually respect it because you understand the situation. Dame never goes down that road. So I know this isn't related to the game, but I have always respected the fact that he's always an open book to the media.
So cool. Oh, my goodness. All right, Cleveland's coming to town on Thursday. Dallas back-to-back games Saturday, Sunday. All right, let's get to our drive of the night. Let's do it.
It's time for the Portland Trailblazers Drive of the Night here on the fifth quarter, hosted by Chad Dewing, 620 Rip City Radio. Drive of the Night is brought to you by Dick's Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram of Wilsonville, ready to compete with the lowest prices in town.
Franz Wagner up top, dribbles right. He attacks right of the lane to the rim. Nurk blocks the dunk attempt, and the rebound is grabbed by Josh Hart. Pushes it across the timeline of the wing. Now he attacks to the rim, left hand. It's good. The block on one end, the finish on the other.
All right, there you go. Drive of the night. You know what's crazy about the YouTube chat that I'm looking at right now?
What's that?
Nick Thompson is taking a run at me. It says Chad calls him out, but it's G-rated because he's nice about it on air. Off air is a different story.
It's G-rated because of like the FCC and certain regulations and things you can and can't say.
And then he said Chad is out of patience with Blazers, but won't say it on the air.
Yeah.
I mean, say what you want about me, but I've never not said exactly what I think about the team.
100%.
And I put it out there, and I've got it pinned to my Twitter profile, exactly what I said before the year began. And I'll go through it right now. I said they would win 35 to 40 games, finish somewhere 8th, 9th, or 10th in the West. They would be somewhere between 25 and 30 in defensive rating. I thought Dame would return to MVP form. I think this team is going to continue to be a rudderless ship until Jody Allen sells the team. I hate the fact that Joe Cronin's not really the man making the decisions, but it's Burt Cold, Paul Allen's former college roommate, who is finally in a position of power, who's operating and making decisions in the shadows with no accountability. I hate the fact that when Neil Olshey got fired, they had a rookie head coach, they had a rookie president because Chris McGowan had walked away, and they had an interim GM, and they had those guys come out and handle the press conference. No Jody, no Burt. They let these guys go out there and take all the bullets. Jody Allen has not once spoken publicly since she took over the Seahawks and the Blazers when her brother passed away. I think that's reprehensible. How can you own a team and have the fan bases who care so much and spend their hard-earned dollars to watch them play, wear their products, to pay for the cable or the viewing to be able to see their games, and you're not going to speak publicly? I mean, what do you think about the team? What's your direction? What are you going to do? Are you going to sell? What's the plan? And we have no idea. I mean, it's ridiculous. And the truth is, this team hasn't been a legitimate title contender in 23 years, period. And if you're not, I always ask the question, what are you doing to win a championship? Because that's really what it's all about. So, no, I think the Blazers are lost as long as Jody Allen and Burt Cold are in control. And until then, it's going to be tough. The reason why Burt Cold, think about this, it's ridiculous. Not one phone call, and we know this for a fact. When Olshey was under investigation and then fired, until the time that they announced Joe Cronin as interim, not one single phone call was made to any potential GMs who were available, including Danny Ainge, a former Trailblazer and a championship general manager with the Boston Celtics. He wanted to talk. He would have been interested. They didn't make a phone call, not to him or anyone. Like, that is malpractice. They gave the job to Joe Cronin because Burt Cold wanted to be able to pull the strings. He wanted the power. He wanted the final say, and he knew a guy like Danny Ainge would have told him to F off. That's why they made the hire that they made.
How much of that plays in to Chauncey as well? Because who holds the power and pulls the strings? The guy at the top or the rookie head coach with no experience at any level doing it?
Yeah.
Like, it's different. If you bring in an Eric Spoelstra, I know he wasn't available. I'm just saying for a name. If you bring him in, you ain't pulling the strings on Spo.
Exactly.
You ain't pulling the strings on Pop.
And the other question would be this. Who is Burt Cold getting counsel from to help make decisions? Is
Vince
he talking
McMahon
to Trader
or something?
Bob?
I think it's Vince McMahon.
I've been told that Bob Whitsitt could be his confidant.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So great. So you've got someone who has no accountability making decisions, getting feedback from someone else that may have worked for the organization. That's a possibility. I just think it's insane. It goes back to what Drexler said when we interviewed him yesterday, that he thought Paul was terrific but didn't have the best people around him basketball-wise to help him make good decisions.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Burt.
Interesting with the team and how they're run from the top, because you have the Clyde interview and he talked about players and how former players are treated. I think it's the worst kept secret in the league that guys like Kevin Pritchard don't like to deal with the Blazers because of the way they were treated during their time in Portland. So it's not just a player thing and this and that. The organization gets a little crazy, man.
Yeah. And I also hate the fact that the organization, there's like this cloud of fear that hangs over the top of the organization. So, the people that work within the organization, the broadcasters and so forth, then they don't feel free to do their job because they're afraid of saying something that would be off script.
Dude, you guys, I had emails to my old employer from Neil Olshey before.
Yeah.
Mad at something I tweeted. Like, so what do you think? Do you think the microscope an actual employee of the team is under?
I mean, that's my real thought. And is this team anywhere close to winning a championship? No, of course not. Look at their roster.
Be careful, though. You're starting to get negative, and you never talk negative because you got to keep these callers on the hook.
They don't have the assets to really go out there and make the changes they need to make for a variety of different reasons.
Very true.
So they're in a tough spot. Let's go back out to the phones. Dan in Southeast, always a good call. Dan, what's up, brother?
Well, geez, Burkhart, you nailed it. That's why I call him the show, because of doing relentless positivity.
I know what's up.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's like your takes are never negative for the sake of being negative. When you're negative, it's because you're making a point that needs to be made. Like right now, where I'm a little frustrated because I was going to try to come in with a positive take, but your observations about the ownership group have got me all bent out of shape and frustrated and ticked off, because you're so right. It's unacceptable. I can't believe I'm saying this. I don't really, don't quote me. Like, I can't really stand on this, but there are times, like as I'm listening to you lay out the rift between Jody Allen and the Blazers fan base and Vulcan and the city of Portland and everything, there are absolutely times where I was like, you know what, I'd rather have an engaged and incompetent ownership group at times than this black box. There is no excuse. There is no excuse for not taking 20 minutes per calendar year to talk about the fans and send a message
course.
that you're committed to winning or that you care about the franchise. It's not that hard. It is not that hard to do it. I don't care if it's scripted and by the numbers and doesn't really impart a bunch of insider information. Just make the effort. And their failure to do so, it tells me all I need to know about how they really view this team and the franchise. It means so much to so many fans, and clearly means nothing more than a line on the ledger to the powers that be. It's incredibly frustrating, man.
Yeah.
Sorry I cut you off there.
No, it's 100%. And you know this like I do, that if they had, let's say, Phil Knight as the owner, Phil Knight is used to winning. He knows what it takes to do so and would surround himself with the people to be able to make that happen. And that's really what it's all about, because you got to have the right people in the right places and empower them to go out there and do the job so that you can have a winning product on the floor. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't have much on the game tonight. There's only so many different ways you can say that this team is not good right now. And what worries and frustrates me is that there are times where you see it clicking, like towards the end of the first half. That extensive run that was a 16-1 or something. And I'm watching it, and it's terrific to see them claw their way back in the game. But the change was so evident. Like, they're going to watch the tape and see it. It ain't rocket science. They're going to be like, oh, my gosh, when you swing the ball around the perimeter and find the open man, you get higher percentage looks. Who knew? If you're engaged and do an inside-outside game, good things happen for you on offense. If you're engaged on defense and get into the passing lanes, you're going to generate turnovers. I'm like, they all know this. It's hard for me. On the one hand, Chauncey can't go out there and do these things for them. On the other hand, when they're clicking, it's clear that the talent is on this roster to be in the mix in the West. Like you said, not to contend, but to be in the mix. And if we're not seeing that consistently, it's hard to make an argument that doesn't, to some extent, fall on coaching. It's a combination, and ultimately either they figure it out or they don't. But I just wanted to echo something that Dame pointed out in his post game. That in fact, I'm looking at it right now. There are, count them, 3 wins separating the 5th slot and the 13th slot in the West. There's 3 wins in the win column. It's incredibly tight. And I have no doubt that this team will figure it out at some point. They'll put together a win streak. They'll find themselves back up to 7th or 5th or something, and then they'll hit the tank again. It's feeling a lot like previous seasons where we just don't know what we have, and TBD, man. But the season rolls on. Have a good night.
You too, buddy. Appreciate it, Dan. Always appreciate your calls. Let's grab Trevor in Sherwood. Trevor, you're up on the 5th quarter. Fire away.
Hey, Chad and Chris, you guys continue to do an excellent show, by the way.
Oh, thanks, man.
I want to make sure that I give you guys props through the negative and through the hard times, And I was just listening to you on the way back from the Elks after, tipping a couple. And it's like, yeah, it is so frustrating that Portland never seems to have the real support that it takes to get the job done. Dame is going to live his existence out without having the real support that it takes. We had Neil O'Shea, like we were talking about, and all he wanted to do is just hang out and steer the ship in a really easy way and collect his money. And, I believed in Mr. Cronin, and I'm hoping that he has more of a hand than maybe it looks like. But I don't know. It's I'm 58 years old, and I remember winning the championship when I was 12.
Man, that's a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Long time.
And there's been some people that some clubs that haven't won yet, and I get that, but boy, it really seems that a franchise as storied and as old as we are, should have a whole lot better management.
I'm with you on that, and that's why I continue to want to point out, and Trevor, I appreciate the phone call, that, it's not Joe Cronin. Don't get frustrated at Cronin, when the deadline comes and things don't happen the way you want, because he's not the one that's got the real power here. I want the attention focused on Jody and Bert, because until the Blazers have new ownership, you're going to continue to have the same type of issues. That's all. That's all.
People pick on Jody, right? Because she goes out there and gives Dame that award, doesn't say anything. They want her to be more involved, Chad. I mean, she's not doing anything. Meanwhile, you got guys like this around the league, if you guys remember.
I am so excited to have a game in my hometown of Seattle, Washington. I am so excited to see Climate Pledge Arena, this fantastic building, light up tonight.
It's like a wrestling promo.
Love it.
I'm so excited that we're playing the Portland Trailblazers. I gotta be honest, a lot of us wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Blazers. Paul Allen,
Yeah, he shows more respect to the Blazers than Jody.
got me interested in basketball.
All right, that there, Mr. Ballmer. Can you imagine Jody Allen doing something like that?
Blazers
Screaming
fan
into a
wouldn't know what to
microphone?
do.
No.
It would probably be crickets in that arena. Like, oh my gosh, she's talking. She's talking. What? Shh, shh, shh. Like, you wouldn't know what to do.
Oh, it's so good. All right. Well, Burkhart, it's so bizarre because things have fallen off so quickly. You know, they were 10-4, things were great, and now 19-21 going into that game on Thursday. So what should we expect on Thursday? They're going to come out and play a great game after tonight's clunker. Cavaliers are legit.
They are
got
legit.
size.
Very good team. Got a lot of size. Donovan Mitchell is well on his way to first-team All-NBA right now. I mean, he might pass that 71 points he scored a couple games ago just with this defense. But no, you got to do something. Just show signs of life, man. That's all I want. Just show signs of life. And I am honestly tired of every single night because he did it again tonight. Chauncey with the, I have to play these guys 40 minutes. I have to. No, you don't. You know how many minutes Keon Johnson played tonight? Less than one. He played 2 seconds. 2 seconds. You know what? If you played him about 10 minutes, maybe Dame wouldn't have to play 40.
He doesn't need to play 40.
I don't care about the outcome, really.
They've got to rein in the minutes. Those guys are fatigued right now. Blazers, here are the standings right now in the West. Denver and Memphis sit atop the West at 27-13. The Grizz have won 7 straight. New Orleans, 2.5 back at 25-16. Dallas, 5 back. They're in 4th. Sacramento and the Clippers round out the top 6. Clippers in 6th, 6.5 back at 22-21. Followed by the Suns, Warriors, Timberwolves, and Jazz, who are currently in 10th. And Portland sits there, same spot as Utah, tied for 10th. And think about this. The Blazers have the same number of wins as the Lakers, 1 game ahead of the Thunder. And that's where I'm right now. So, again, this next stretch, 9 of the next 10 are at home, critical, and the trade deadline coming up on the 9th. All right, Burkhart, nice work tonight, buddy. You and I are back at it on Thursday. Game day at 4:30.
Let's go.
All right, big thanks to all of you tonight, your phone calls. Appreciate the interaction. I always love it. To everyone on the YouTube chat and joining us on the live stream, thank you. Our next game will come up on Thursday, game day at 4:30, tip-off with the Cavs at 7. And I'll have the Rip City Drive tomorrow from 3 until 6 here on 620 Rip City Radio. Your final score tonight from Motor Center, the Orlando Magic over your Portland Trailblazers, 109-106. For Chris Burkhart, I'm Chad Doing. Have a good night.